I'ma say Shema, Yasha Allah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Achad. Deuteronomy 6:4, Bahala Shawan Kwadash. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and are worthy of their double honors. Peace and blessing to you, Akim, pushing out this truth across the four corners during these last seconds of time. Kwam Yasha Allah, mighty Shalom. And this lesson is entitled Juneteenth, ? We are yet this day in our captivity. Juneteenth, ? We are yet this day in our captivity. And I just typed in on a Google search, what is Juneteenth? And you scroll down, it has an AI overview on Juneteenth. It says, Juneteenth is also known as Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, and Jubilee Day. It is also referred to as Black Independence Day and Juneteenth Independence Day, and by statute, Juneteenth National Independence Day. The holiday commemorates June 19th, 1865, when the last enslaved African American in Galveston, Texas, learned of their freedom 2 months after the end of the Civil War and over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And Lord willing, this must be edifying because we are not free. We are still this day in our captivity. All right. Juneteenth should not be celebrated, glorified, or magnified as a day of our emancipation from slavery, because we are still yet this day in our captivity. Baruch 3:8. Behold, we are yet this day. All right. June 19th, 2025, the whole year of our deliverance and the destruction and judgment of Esau, Edom. We are yet this day in our captivity. All right. So how are then we free? How then have we been taken out of slavery? So why is this celebration tolerated on the planet Earth? All right. And as the scriptures say, folly is set in great dignity. This is Ecclesiastes 10:6. It says, I started verse 5. It says, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceeded from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. And the rich ultimately are the Israelites. All right. The low, the meek. OK, those are talking about the hopeful elect. And that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is hidden in the society. So that's why you still have events like Juneteenth celebrated. All right. Which is a slap in the face to you so-called Native Americans, Latinos, and Negroes, because it doesn't signify the ending of any slavery. We're still here in slavery, in captivity. We have a social security number, a birth certificate. All right. There are cameras on every angle, every street corner. All right. Monitoring the things that you're doing. OK. The charagma is about to be implemented. According to Revelation 13:16, he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a charagma in their right hand or their forehead. And this technology that's about to come down is ultimately going to show that even more that the society was enslaved all along and are prisoners. So it says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. I've seen servants upon horses, which goes into the wicked. You have servants that are in a high place. They're in a place of rulership and power. That's why you have unrighteous decrees, according to Isaiah 10, that are passed. All right. Such as this one. It says, Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, which are the Israelites, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And Esau, Edom, he furthers our affliction with events like this, putting them into legislation, because the word legislation goes into lie and wait. So he puts these things into legislation, as it says here. All right. It is also referred to as Black Independence Day and Juneteenth Independence Day. And by statute, you see, by law, Juneteenth National Independence Day. So let's point out some contradictory facts here. So Juneteenth was commemorated on June 19, 1865. So this was the day that we're now today celebrating and saying that this marks the date that we were taken out of slavery. But let's do some another quick Google search here, you have, when was the 3/5 compromise ended? Okay, so we were considered by statute as 3/5 of a human being, right? So on June 19, 1865, it was quote unquote the commemoration of, or marked the date that we were taken out of slavery, or slavery ended. But why until 1868, which was 3 years later, was we then considered no longer 3/5 of a human being by statute? So it says the 3/5 compromise was ended by the ratification of the 14th Amendment in 1868, which was 3 years after Juneteenth. Okay, so you see the confusion here. All right, it says this amendment, specifically Section 2, superseded the portion of the Constitution that contained the 3/5 clause. The 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, had already abolished slavery, which goes back to Juneteenth. It says, but the 14th Amendment formally addressed representation and citizenship in a way that nullified the 3/5 compromise. So they formally addressed it. They truly addressed it 3 years later. So you see the confusion there. It says the 3/5 compromise. The 3/5 compromise reached during the 1978 Constitutional Convention dictated that 3 out of every 5, Salakia, 3 out of every 5 enslaved people. Who were those people? Those were the Israelites, man. So 3 out of every 5 enslaved people will be counted when determining a state's total population for representation in the House of Representatives and for taxation. So we weren't even counted as a whole individual. Okay. So this is the type of facts that should trigger you spiritually to know that we're still here in slavery, in this captivity. All right. We're waiting on the Lord to deliver us, man. So back in Ecclesiastes 10 real quick, I'll just go back to it. It says, I have seen servants, Ecclesiastes 10:7, I have seen servants upon horses and prince walking as servants upon the earth. And those are the Israelites. Where the Yasharallah goes into prince of the power. All right. The sons of God are walking as servants upon the earth, serving our time in slavery. That's why the scriptures say we are yet this day in our captivity. All right. Where the Lord has scattered us. This is Baruch 3:8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse. Proverbs, bywords, called everything except the Lord's chosen people, except the Israelites according to the Bible. All right. So it says back here too, just to prove that, it says, and notice how it identifies the Lord's chosen people. Let me see, because I want to go back to the one I read, because it specifically said African Americans. All right. And we know that we're not African Americans, even though we migrated to that land, parts of West Africa, throughout Africa, were transported here to the Americas through the transatlantic slave trade. All right. We are Israelites. Okay. The Spirit bear witness that we are children of the Most High, scattered here in America, across the 4 corners of the earth, yet still to this day in captivity, in slavery, being subject to fines and payments. We still are. Those things haven't been lifted off of us. Those are curses that are placed upon us from Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And quite frankly, only the Lord can take them away from us and put them on our enemies. And that hasn't happened yet. That's how you know we're not out of captivity either, because the Lord said he will put those curses upon our enemies. That's a part of the promises. And we haven't received that yet. It says Deuteronomy 30:7, and the Lord Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And we're in the hands of those that hate us and that persecute us. It says that in Psalm 83rd chapter. They come in tumult to cut them off from being a nation. That's still to this day. All right. And the scriptures say we're in the hands of our enemies and they refuse to let them go. Okay. Also, in a place it says they will take them captives whose captives they were. Okay. Bear with me. Bear with me. This is Isaiah 14. And I start at 1. For the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And this is a future prophecy where we will be taken from amongst the heathen nations through war, all right, and brought into our own land, okay, Jerusalem. But the spiritual temple is being built on the four corners of the planet Earth today, all right, in this captivity, scattered for a curse and a reproach, called different names, not according to our nationality, according to the Bible, all right. We were calling upon different gods, but guess what? We made it right here. And the scriptures say in a place where it was said that they are not my people, there should they be known as the sons of God. So it says, and the strangers, which are the Israelites, Israelite foreigners scattered amongst different nations. The scriptures tell us in Ephesians, we are no more strangers, but fellow citizens. It says, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord. For servants and handmaids, which is a future prophecy, will possess the heathen nations. They will be our inheritance, like the scriptures say. It says, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their possessors. Salakia, oppressors. And they shall rule over their oppressors. But notice how it says, they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. So we're currently captives, but we're going to take these other nations captives, all right, whose captives we were, and which we are currently. So the shoe is going to be on the other foot, man. All right. And the Lord is ultimately he's going to deliver us out of these chains of darkness too, like the scriptures say. We're in these chains of darkness. Why? Because we're prisoners. Apostle Paul said he was a prisoner of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. All right. It says, Baruch 3:9, it says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. Yet this day we're subject to fines and payments, the curses, being called everything else under the sun except Judites, Benjamites, Levites, Manassites, all right, Zebulonites. Our names according to the Bible. And we see that in these different laws. And Juneteenth is ultimately an example of that, of how different gods and different deities, different names are pushed on us, man. All right. They say Juneteenth is the commemoration of African Americans and their end of slavery. But we're still yet this day in our captivity facing those problems of slavery, facing those problems of being oppressed and being captives, man. So it says, which departed from the Lord our power. Hear Israel, the commandments of life, give ear to understand wisdom. How happened it Israel? See, the Lord is speaking to the nation of Israel, Yasha Allah, Prince of the powers. We read about princes walking as servants upon the earth. That's talking about the nation of Israel being at a low place at this time, still currently in 2025, not out of slavery yet. And it tells us in Revelation as well that the Lord is going to wipe the tears from our eyes. That's a future prophecy that hasn't happened yet, and that goes into this slavery and this cup of this portion of captivity being taken away from us. It says, how happened to Israel that thou art in thy enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country? America, scattered across the four corners of the earth. All right. This is a strange land. OK, people worship strange gods here, call upon strange names. OK, we're strangers. We're scattered amongst these heathen nations. All right. But what ultimately has decided who we are? The word has. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua predestined us to come back and have a certain lot on the earth. All right. But that lot is going to ultimately be fulfilled in captivity, through captivity, going through this trial, going through this hell, being oppressed, being a captive. All right. Like the scriptures say, I'll turn ye to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Today I will reward ye double. Roughly paraphrasing. So it says, how it happened in Israel that thou art in thy enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave. And it also says in a place that I will bring thee to Egypt again with ships. All right. And that's talking about America. So we were brought here, but ultimately in a place where it said, the Most High said, we are not his people. There we shall be known as the sons of God. The Lord said ultimately he will set his hand a second time, all right, to deliver us. Okay, so Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give infinite honors and praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Harachak Wadash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to you, Aki, and pushing out this truth across the four corners during these last seconds of time. Kwam Yasha Allah, mighty Shalom.